Okay, and we are recording. This is the Pranzata podcast, and today I have my lovely guest, Tracy. She is a filmmaker. I'm really excited to have her here today because I rarely get women on this podcast. I work in music and comedy, which is male-dominated, but now I have a lady today. She's a lady filmmaker, and before we get into it, I have some good questions for her. But don't forget to hit subscribe and don't forget to hit like below if you're into this kind of thing and want to come back. This is a podcast. I do it every Thursday. I interview comedians, musicians, local artists in the New Jersey, New York, Philly area. And we are going to get right into it. So, Tracy.
Hello.
I'm so excited to have you here. My first question for you, because I was just mentioning how I work in a very male-dominated field. Is it the same for filmmakers? Is it rare to have a lady filmmaker? I know nothing. A lot of my followers or my subscribers on YouTube know that I'm like an idiot with film. I don't know a lot about film, so I'm actually really excited to have her here because she's going to teach me a lot. Hopefully, I'm going to ask her questions that prompt her to teach me things. So, is it the same in film?
I'd say it is. It has been for a very, very long time a male-dominated field, but I think it's been changing a lot, and I think women's voices are being heard, and female voices, women's stories are being heard, and it's becoming more and more and more not as male-dominated. But if you go on a set, most of the time it is, like I was doing a lot of PA work for a while, and the PAs you'd get definitely more females, but the higher ups it was usually more male dominated.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I think you can, if you hear like the Oscar buzz and stuff like that, it's been brought to the forefront of having more women's voices heard, more female directors. Chloe Zhao, who won Best Director for Nomadland this year. That's a great example of the progress that's being made in the industry. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's so cool to have like another lady in the arts with me here in the male dominated fields. So I always start my podcast. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about film, but I always start my podcast off with uncomfortable personal awareness questions. So I'm going to ask you maybe one or two uncomfortable questions. So I was thinking of this question today because it's on my mind. So I'm curious, is there anything recently or during the pandemic or recently, even it doesn't have to be during the pandemic, a life lesson that you learned that you would like to share with us?
I'd say that, adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it. And I really think that during such a global crisis, that's something I learned because, everyone handled it in different ways and it was difficult for everyone. And I'm not saying you had to handle it perfectly, but if you were able to really center yourself and find things that you love, you were kind of given a blessing to do those things, try different things, explore different areas that you didn't have time to before. So I think finding the positives in circumstances like that.
I've actually asked this question to other guests as well, so this is a good time to ask you. How was your reaction in the pandemic? Were you like one of those people who were like, I'm going to use this time to get some shit done? Or were you one of those people who just kind of like recluded into a depression and did nothing? No judgment either way. Because there's all different reactions.
No, exactly. And I don't judge people at all. And like when I say that, like I kind of feel like if you're an artistic person and you didn't use the extra time you had to try anything, then I'm kind of like, well, what were you doing? But like, again, I don't want to judge people. People go through things differently. But, for me, I was able to get a lot more time working on my screenplay. My boyfriend has actually been co-writing with me, and that's been great. We started a YouTube channel during this, which was also just another creative outlet because there's nothing to film really. So we kind of came up with that, and and I also just catching up on films too are always inspired. I love watching movies, and I don't always get the time to watch it, so that was great too.
Just so the audience knows, her boyfriend is actually with us today. We don't have a third. I want to get an audio interface, the thing that I used to plug in the microphone, for like 4 to 6 people. So I would have loved to have him on here, but right now he's just our little side guy, our little side man right here. He's trying to play with my cats over there. He scared Jazzy, which was interesting because Jazzy loves everybody, but somehow he scared Jazzy. So you said your boyfriend is also into the arts as well. What does he do?
Yeah. So, he got his bachelor's in film and linguistics, and he's an amazing writer and really knowledgeable with pop culture. And really, we'll watch movies and I know so much from the production standpoint, and he knows so much from the film theory point of view. So it's like great to be able to talk to him, because we both know a little bit about each other's, like I know film theory and stuff, but like someone who went to college to study it, you have a different way of thinking than someone that just loves movies and can interpret movies in a creative way. So we have like such a great back and forth with that.
So it's like a good balance with each other, because it's like you're both into the same thing, but you have different skill sets that kind of like put it together.
Yeah, and we both appreciate the same art forms like so much. So it's great.
Now here's a question, like as far as dating goes, do you think as an artist you can only date another artist?
I could not imagine dating someone that wasn't. I mean, I was single for 6 years, and like I think one of the biggest issues was, I mean, there are a lot of creative people in this area in New Jersey, but in general it's pharmaceutical land, and it's a lot of that type of mentality, and so I think limiting it to like a smaller group of people of artists, it's the pool is smaller, and and he's from Pittsburgh actually, and we met a long time ago, but rekindling that friendship or whatever and turning into a romance was, I kind of always had a feeling I wasn't going to find my partner where I was currently living. So
have you ever dated a non-artist before?
Maybe when I was like 22. He wasn't the most artistic guy, but I was also just like young. I mean, he was really into music, but I
find that interesting, because that's been on my mind lately. I'm a single lady again, as we were discussing in my kitchen, and I just got out of a long-term relationship, so like the whole like process again, and I'm just like, okay, and one of the things that was thinking about is like, I can't see myself with like a non-artist either, for like multiple reasons. One, I feel like the artistic types just get each other, but two, I feel like to be the artistic type, you kind of have like a busy schedule, like you have a weird schedule, and I feel like two artists together like get each other and understand each other that way and can respect it, as opposed to like, I don't know. I feel like if I dated like a non-artist, they might like expect me home a certain time, but artists like musicians have to go out late and stuff like that. Or like, as a filmmaker, I'm sure you have like random gigs. Like you might, if you have a big gig, you might have to like travel somewhere and be gone for 7 days. So it's like so important to have someone who understands that. And just, like, down with that lifestyle.
Yeah. A great way I would weed them out would be like, if I would meet someone at a bar, the first thing I would ask them is like, what's your favorite movie? And like, I don't even like answering that question because I love so many movies, but it would give me such a good idea of like who that person is. And I've heard some doozies in the past where I was like, oh, okay, I have nothing in common with this person, so.
Now this is kind of a tough question. And I think I've even asked you this question before in the past, but as I was saying before, as much as I pride myself as being artistic, like musically, I'm into comedy and my podcast, I'm not that like movie savvy, which is like a shame. And I'm really eager to learn more about it. So one question that I asked my podcast listeners, and I had them comment in the comment section before, but now I have like a filmmaker here. So I feel like your answer is going to be really solid. If I had to watch like 3 movies that, like if I've never seen basically any movies and you're like, okay, you need to start with these 3 to 5 like classics, what would you recommend? And if you need to think about this, we'll edit out the waiting period.
Yeah, that's tough.
There's too many movies, right? It's too hard to say.
Oh man, I like want to answer that like. I want to have that. Can I answer that like later?
You can. I'll give you a hint, like not hint, but I'll let you know what I have liked. I did like The Joker a lot. Okay. And I liked Taxi Driver, and they're both similar. They're both very similar. like, I guess I have like a genre that I like, whatever you would call that genre, like loner genre. Yeah. So I also liked Black Swan.
I love Black Swan. Well, yeah, you have great taste. So I don't even think you need my help at this point. You just nailed 3 that are amazing.
It's weird, like. This whole time I'm like, I don't know any movies. I've only seen a few movies, but I feel like the movies I have seen are good. Yeah. But there's still so many that I haven't seen, like classics, like haven't seen the Star Wars. Like I haven't seen a lot of classic comedies, like Back to the Future. Like I haven't seen so many things that I'm just like, I have no idea what these people are talking about.
Well, normally I would say like, what are you doing? But the fact that you're actually watching great films like those are all fantastic, like it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think you're gonna I wouldn't lose sleep that you haven't watched all the Star Wars, I mean there are 3 that are fantastic and the rest are questionable, like okay for you. So I don't know, I'm gonna think about this though, because I want to curate.
You can get back to me later.
Yes.
Okay, so I have some other questions for you. as far as the pandemic goes in the film industry, has there been a big change and a big shift in how movies are going to be made now? Like, are they going to even be like, are movie theaters even going to be a thing? Like, are they obsolete? You know, I'm just like kind of curious about that, because I noticed that the movie theaters are empty now. They are open again, but I never see anyone in there. And I'm kind of wondering, from like a filmmaker's perspective, is this like really sad, and like the art of, you know, the cinema is like dying in that way? Or, you know, what's your take on that, or what do you foresee?
Yeah, I think it's just going to take time, because I mean, there's still so many people that are fully vaccinated that don't feel comfortable going into a movie theater. And I don't know if it's I think it's honestly a lot is just psychological, because you're like, okay, I'm going to sit in one space in one room with all these people for the first time in over a year. I think that's what people are, you know, it freaks people out. I think it'll just take time. I think what they did with the HBO Max at home releases has honestly been great. I know there's been a lot of directors that haven't been thrilled about it, but during a time like this, we wanted releases. We wanted to see these movies that were going to be in theaters, and I think HBO did a fantastic job doing that. I think it's just going to take time. I think it'll come back.
From like a filmmaker's perspective, would it be sad, like, to you, if they were no longer in theaters than they were only in homes? Like, would that
100%? I'd be devastated, because I still think it's a very special experience, and it elevates the experience. I think there are a lot of movies though that you do actually get a better experience watching at home. But for certain films, I think it's a special time.
Yeah. Another question I have for you is, well, actually, before I ask those questions, let's get into your background as a filmmaker. Okay. You know, because I feel like we need to explain that to the audience as well. Like, how long have you been doing films? What got you into it? Was this something you always wanted to do? Just like a little background on yourself and your journey into becoming a filmmaker.
Okay, yeah. I sound like a broken record, because I always say this, but when I saw American Beauty when I was 13, that's when I started.
I've also seen that one, and I love that
Good.
one.
Good. Yeah. See, you're on a roll.
But I swear I haven't seen the classics. Like, I've seen really good movies that I think are good, like, and apparently they're good because I trust you know. I've seen amazing movies, but I haven't seen a ton of movies. I'm not that person who's like going to the movie theater to catch up every week. Like, I'm not that person.
That's okay.
Haven't seen any Italian mobster movies. Like, I haven't seen The Godfather, Goodfellas. Like, I haven't seen any of that stuff. So there's just like a lot missing.
You would like Goodfellas, I think.
Would I?
Yeah, you would like that one. Yeah, and Casino.
I haven't seen that.
That one's a little, that to me is darker than Goodfellas, but I think you would love it. Yeah.
Or like Marvel, like, I guess the Joker, we were talking about, that is something I've seen, but I haven't seen like Marvel, Harry Potter, like none of it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
I guess, you know, it's funny. Like, I guess it's kind of similar in music, like in classical music. Like, people who are non-classical musicians are like, oh, I love Fur Elise or Moonlight Sonata, and as a classical musician, you're like, I hear that shit all the time. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I get
or
that.
Fucking. I'm sure maybe you guys like this too, but I get so sick of Claire de Lune. You guys know Claire de Lune?
I know, and I love Claire de Lune because I'm not a classical musician.
Well, all the non-classical musicians are like Claire de Lune, Moonlight Sonata, or that Mozart. I don't remember what it's called, but like, and as someone who hears it all the time, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, so it's probably similar. It's probably like a similar thing.
I think I love when Claire de Lune is well placed in a film, because it has been done really nicely. But then sometimes I'll watch movies now that come out now, and I'm like, Claire de Lune again? Like, there's other classical pieces.
That's exactly how I feel about it, like musically. So that's interesting. As a filmmaker, you kind of have to be musical as well in a way, because it's like you need to know. It's almost like you're in a way a musician. Like you're, even if you're not playing the music, you're like placing the music.
Yeah.
You know?
And I can't do any script writing without listening to music. I set the tone.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. Soundtracks, like Hans Zimmer, I listen to a lot for one of the screenplays that's more of a psychological sci-fi thing. And then, I change it up depending on the mood.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, back to your background though.
Oh, yeah.
We got sidetracked somehow.
That's fine. Yeah, so I always say that when I saw American Beauty when I was 13, that's what made me look at films differently and more artistically instead of just for entertainment. And then from then I started, I got like an editing software. It was like Vegas on like an old Dell or whatever, and I was editing some stuff, and I would like force my friends to be in shorts and things like that, and they're just so stupid, but I loved doing it, and they were great sports about it. And then for college, we were going through a bit of a rough time in my family at the time for a lot of reasons. And so I wanted to stay closer to home. So I went to Rider University, and I took a lot of their film classes that they didn't have production. They didn't have film production, but they had TV production, and then they had cinema studies. And I would just take the cinema studies classes. So I took like a Hitchcock class that was awesome, and documentary filmmaking and a lot of stuff like that. And then I tried to like at least take some of the higher up courses, and I even did one that I wouldn't get credit for, but I just wanted to be in it because I knew I loved it so much. And then from there on, I didn't have a camera till maybe like 4 years ago, I think it was. And then I kind of just started, making things for businesses and things like that, and weddings, and like that I found to be like, finally I could start filming something. And I do find weddings to be, they can be incredibly artistic the way you do them, because they're shot like films now, like they're like little mini short films, but in the meantime still screenwriting. I also had interned with the Weinstein Company after college, and that was a crazy experience. And I was just doing a lot of script coverage and things like that. So this is just reading scripts and telling them like if it's good and who should be, stuff like that. But yeah, so and then I've done a lot of production assistant work over the past 10 years. So working on like either commercial work or even I did a lot of concert work too. I worked for Live Nation for a little bit, and I did like the Black Keys and the Eagles and things like that.
Oh, really? That's so cool.
It is, and the thing is, it's cool. It's just PAs don't really make a lot, and it's really long hours, and like God bless them, because films can't get made without them, and concerts can't go on without them. But it's rough, and I just realized that I felt like I was kind of wasting my time doing a position like that. After, if you do it, that's great. You got the experience, and I'm glad I did it. But you can't, unless you want to go into different departments, you can move up. But I really want to make stuff myself. So
I was actually just going to say that it's actually similar in the music business. It's like if you get side gigs as a musician, like even the stuff I do, it's decent money. It's a lot of fun. It makes you a better musician because you're learning different music and stuff. But then you're like, wait a second, what about my music? Like, what about the music I want to make? So it's always like a tough balance, because making your own music doesn't pay the bills,
right,
but it's what we want to do. So I'm sure it's really similar with filmmakers as well. It's like, sure, you can get these side gigs, like helping other people's artistic, endeavors and stuff. And you should make some money doing it. But at some point, it's like, wait, I got to work on my own shit. Like,
yeah. And when you're trying to do your own stuff too, like even if you're making, I did a book trailer for my friend. She's an awesome author. She's really cool books. I did a book trailer for her, and like obviously, like she's, we're all struggling artists. She's definitely pretty successful in my opinion, but we're all struggling artists, and there's no budgets at this level. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so we're all trying to make things to get things seen. But you have to do things, without getting paid, which is fine, but you also have to pay the bills. And so, that's why the restaurant industry is always so kind to artists, because you can take off and you can pick up a shift and you can pay your bills that way. And like, there's that one joke that I love that I saw on a t-shirt, and it was like, hi, I'm an actress. Can I take your order? And it's like, it's just because it's the flexibility.
I was actually, right now, I'm kind of doing a similar thing where I'm like door dashing. I'm like a waitress on wheels, I guess you could say. And I love it, honestly. Yeah. I was teaching, like I had like a pretty prestigious position. Like I was teaching Spanish at a school in Princeton, and I quit because I realized like the energy, like on paper or like to the public, it would seem like such a prestigious thing. Like, oh, I'm a teacher for Princeton. But I wasn't fulfilled because I had to like put a lot of time and energy into that. And I was like, I feel bad if like anybody from that job is hearing this. It's just like, please understand it's because I'm an artist. I have no like disrespect towards teachers. I think like it's a hard job and it's a necessary job. It's just that for me personally, because my end goal is to find a way to make a living with creative work. I was like, this is taking too much of my energy. I need to work a job that doesn't take and it's also not fair to the students. Like if I'm just like there to make a paycheck and leave, it's like, well, the kids need someone who loves teaching.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So now I do teach music privately, which is a lot more flexible because it's my own hours. If I have a gig, I can reschedule it. And then door dashing is so flexible as well. So like it's like the same exact thing, like you were saying. It's like, yeah, like maybe to the public, like, oh, you're a waitress, but it's like, no, that's like the best thing you could do as an artist, because you can just like, you know, it's a lot more flexible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. And then just in the meantime too, I have a business with my mom called the Broadway Mentors Program, and I run all the tech for that since we went online because of COVID. And what they do is really amazing with Tony Award winners teaching privately in master classes. So I'm very proud of that, and that's doing well. We just started a foundation as well, so that kids that can't afford to study with these types of people, like they will be given the opportunity. So we're a lot of eggs in different baskets, you know.
So I was just gonna say, it's like the same exact thing, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying with like the artist type needing to date artist types. It's because like our lifestyles are so weird. Like we have weird hours, weird sleeping schedules, inconsistent hours, because it's like, again, you know that you need to free up your time and your energy for the thing that you love to do. And then the thing that you love to do doesn't make any money in the beginning. So you have to work all these like little weird end jobs at different hours to make ends meet.
Oh,
so
100%.
It's rough, but it's worth it. You know, it's definitely worth it. I would much rather do this than work like a secure corporate job. Like, I feel like if I was working a secure corporate job that like had health benefits and steady hours, it's like, yeah, I would be secure, but I'd always be wondering like, well, what else? What if? Like, what if I did this? So I'd rather like play the game of life and like take the risk of whatever, being a broke loser, I guess, whatever, what do you want to call it? I'd rather take that risk than like be working a job and being wondering what if, you know?
Yes.
So
I love that they said play the game of life.
Yeah. It does feel like a game sometimes. I know. Like it feels like a video game. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
no, you are. I was thinking about this the other day, that like when you're a kid, there is, you know, that game is the game of life that you can play as a kid. Yeah. And you have like no idea.
I was watching my niece and nephew play this, and that's what started getting me to think of it. I'm like, wait, they're just like, I've actually talked about this with another podcast guest as well. It's like I feel like I need to like smoke weed or something to explain this, because it's like a weird abstract thought. It's like games are replicated off of life, because like what came first, the game or the life? Like, am I making any sense? I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, but it's kind of like the game of life is replicated off of life because life is a game. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, I get it. It's wild. I love that. Yeah.
I'm going to open another beer. You have another one too if you need one. Just let me, I have the wine opener or beer opener both at once. So any plans, like, since we were just talking about like you getting back into your own work, any plans of making like any full feature films one day or anything like that, or even like 30-minute films or whatever?
Yeah, I'd love to. Once two of the screenplays that I have in mind. One I think could be easily, not easily because it's never easy, but easier to get funding for than the other one, because the other one's more of a much higher budget type of thing. So my goal is to really get this specific screenplay, just a couple more tweaks to it, drafts, and then just start going for funding to make it. So, and to me, I always think like the most important part of like an indie film is really like cut the budget where you can, but get it like one person that people know as an actor, like, because that sells the movie, in my opinion. You know, what are you gonna, if there's like random movies, you haven't heard of any of them, you know that Leonardo, I'm not saying I'm getting Leonardo DiCaprio, but like you see Leonardo DiCaprio's and you're like, oh, I know him, like I'll grab, you know, just as an example, you know, I think that makes such a difference. And like, that's kind of where my mindset is, because I know the script that I have is very easily fundable just from locations and how many people are in the cast and all that stuff. I
have a friend who's in the process of making a full featured film, and the budget is like, I don't want to give away the numbers because, you know, just out of respect for his privacy, but like it's a lot of money. Like, and like, I'm just like, holy shit, that's a big, you know, number, but it makes sense. There's so many different people and things you have to pay. Like you have all these actors and actresses. If you want them to do a good job, you have to treat them well. You have to feed them, you know, crew, like, and whatever. I don't even know, like, I'm overwhelmed just like producing this podcast. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and it's like 3 things. So like, I can't even, like, I feel like there's so much that goes into this that I can't even imagine like the lighting and the sound and the props and the whatever, you might have to like pay to rent places for the day. Like
honestly,
if you
even the insurance is so expensive.
You have to pay insurance in case someone gets hurt or something.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. Insurance for everything. I mean, it does cost a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much like? Oh, that just shut off. Okay, we are back. We had a little tech issue, but we are back on track. I am filming off of my phone. And the problem with these iPhones is that they always tend to glitch after a while and they run out of room. So this is actually a great segment into this question, because I was actually going to ask you about this. As someone who is, well knowledgeable in the film making, business, what would be a good camera right now for me to buy if you don't know, it's fine, but just curious, like what would be a good camera for me to buy for YouTube videos that's like $1,000 or less?
Okay. So I really don't know if it's in this price range, but I really love Sony's cameras. I think Sony's done a really great job for so many reasons. I initially got my Sony 7AS2 because the lighting, it films really well in low lighting. Yeah. That one is more expensive than this price range, but they have other models, and I really think that and at the end of the day too, it's really the lens that makes the difference. I think in so many ways. Some people just are Canon people till they die, and they're just like, nothing's better than the colors of Canon.
It's almost like the Apple versus the Samsung. Right. Like it's like an argument.
Canon has a very specific look, and I love that look, but I don't think you have to get Canon to achieve that look, especially with color correcting and everything you can do in post. Yeah. So I would just check out what Sony's putting out in that in that price range. Yeah,
I'm gonna probably see like online you can sometimes get like a payment plans, because like I don't have the money saved up right now just to buy it $1,000
it's
to buy $1,000 camera.
It is,
but they do have some like payment plans on some websites, so I'm gonna look into that and get something.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm really excited about that. A lot of people say that it's okay to film off of your iPhone. What do you think of that? Do you think it's not as good?
I think it's totally fine, especially with, I mean, it all depends on what you want to do. Like, if someone says for an example, if you say, oh, I'm going to film a wedding with my iPhone.
No.
You can do it. It would probably look, but I think there's
it makes such a big difference to have like a real camera.
But especially for podcasts and YouTubers and stuff, you can, the cameras now are really excellent on phones, and you can just do it. I think this is what I wanted to say too. Don't let your equipment stop you from filming.
That's actually true. I can attest to that as well, because like when I first started doing this, I had thought about doing it for like a year, and I didn't start because I never felt ready. Like I was just like, I don't have the right camera. I don't have the right this. I don't have the right that. And like, granted, I do have a decent amount of stuff now. I didn't start with all this stuff. I started slowly. I didn't have like a podcast room. Like I didn't have lights. Like right now I have lights behind, everything. You can just literally start without any of the equipment.
100%. And you're never gonna feel ready.
Finished. Yeah.
You're never gonna feel ready. Like I didn't say I was a writer ever till I was like, I don't write screenplays. I'm not gonna write. One day I decided to get a free script writing. I was like, I'm gonna take a crack at it. I'm like, why didn't I start this 12 years later earlier? Because I was like, this is not bad. It's actually pretty good. So we always just limit ourselves, really.
Yeah. Same thing with like, that even reminds me of like the comedy thing I was just telling you about. I just recently, during the pandemic, I started doing open mic comedy, and like it's kind of like similar process as being a musician. Like you start as an open micer, and then when you get skilled enough, you can eventually go on stage and get actual gigs. I got my first gig as a comedian. I don't know how I got it. They probably just needed to fill the quota for like having a female there. It's probably literally, I'm like, not even exaggerating. That's got to be what it is.
Use it while it's there.
So I'm just like, I don't know how I did this. I don't feel ready, but you just got to jump in. Like you just got to fucking go, because I could bomb horribly. It could be really bad, but I'm going to learn from that experience either way. And it's the same thing with like starting a YouTube channel. Like you're going to be bad in the beginning. Like you're going to feel awkward. You're going to feel uncomfortable, but you have to go through that process in order to like get comfortable,
Absolutely. Yes.
So you just started a YouTube channel not too long ago, you were saying.
Yeah.
How many videos do you guys have out so far?
I think 16.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We were doing at least one a week. We're on a little bit of a hiatus right now because of a lot of different life changes and moving and things like that. But because they say like once a week helps the YouTube algorithm. And honestly, learning about the YouTube algorithm is so stressful and I can't stand it. It's like, but regardless of that, it's still really fun. And yeah, it's also just another creative outlet while I wasn't filming anything. And, you know.
Did you go through like a mild like depression not being able to film during the pandemic?
Oh yeah, 100%. And if it wasn't for the writing, I think I really would have had a problem. So,
what's your writing process like? Like, do you sit down to write like formally? Like kind of like we were talking about in the kitchen with comedy. Is it something that you're like, I have to sit down and write and get this done? Or does it come to you in like waves, like whenever?
It comes both ways. And I'll tell you this. Sometimes like there's roadblocks that, especially with my one script, I had such a roadblock. And then the other night he and I were watching something and the movie has nothing to do with the script I'm working on. But then I was like, oh my God, I have it. And I was like, I know how to fix the script. Yeah. So like I just write a note just like you did in your phone. And that's how I'll attempt to do that. But I used to just, I would go to a bar or a coffee shop and just like put on headphones and like bring a laptop and just try to write. But you're not always in the mood and you're not always interested or not interested, but inspired at the moment. But I try to at least a little bit, you know.
I love like how a lot of the conversations connect with different podcast guests. Like I've been noticing that like a lot of things connect. My other podcast guest from last week, we were talking about the same thing. And he basically said that, what the fuck? Okay. What's going on?
I don't know.
Like, I have room on my phone. All right, let me just try to delete a little fucking more. Okay, we're back again. Jesus Christ, this is the third time we've had a tech issue. Is that even rolling? Yeah, it's rolling. Okay. Thank God the phone makes like a noise when it shuts off. Otherwise, I would have had no idea. But honestly, if this happens again, I'm just gonna put like a still photo of us like being cute. So, and you guys just gonna have to hear it. But I think I either need a new phone or I just need to clean out my phone or I need a camera. Answer in the comment section below. Do you think I should get a new phone or do you think I should get a formal camera? What do you guys think? Anyways, back to our conversation. I don't remember what we were talking about when this happened. Do you guys remember? We were talking about, I remember talking about budgeting for like a big film and we were talking about that, but we might have gotten past that and we were talking about, well, we could just talk about something different. Sorry guys. Sorry if the conversation got a little messed up. But actually this was on my mind that I wanted to talk about. So, I wanted to let them know. Well, first of all, where can they find you? Like if they want to stalk you.
Yeah. So on Instagram, you can find me at Nerdy Film Girl. And then same thing on Twitter, but with underscores in between Nerdy Film Girl. I don't have a lot of Twitter followers because I really didn't get into the Twitter game. I have Twitter and I like people's things, but I don't tweet that much. But that's where my Twitter is. And then my YouTube channel that I have with my boyfriend as my co-pilot, it's Nerdy Film Girl there as well. So it's just really Nerdy Film Girl everywhere.
I think we might have been talking about your YouTube. I think that's what we were talking about when the things got messed up.
Oh,
possibly.
Oh yeah, maybe.
But whatever, we can just go with anything now.
Yeah.
So you guys are planning to move to let's talk about this. You guys are planning to move to New York City soon. And you guys were saying that right now it's actually like the most affordable you've ever seen to live in New York City.
It is. And it's because so many people moved out during COVID because they lost their jobs or for multiple reasons, lots of things. Yeah. And landlords are trying to fulfill those spaces. So it's really crazy in areas that you would never expect to see prices this low. It's unheard of. And you can actually I was on YouTube recently and there's people that have YouTube channels that just like go around New York and they're like, this is my favorite spot for this, or if you're looking to move, like these are the areas, and they're all saying the same thing. And you can just go on like any of the rental sites and the prices are always, they're like, this is normally $2,000 more than it is. And it's like crazy.
My only worry, and we were actually talking about this in the car, my only worry and fear about that would be like, are they going to randomly jack up the price next year, or legally there's only so much percentage they can jack it up? Are they going to be like, oh, it's $1,500 this year, next lease it's 2300 or something.
I don't think that they can do. I mean, I would be shocked if they could just out of nowhere. I don't know.
Yeah, there must be like a percentage increase, you know?
Yeah. And it would probably be in the lease to begin with to sign.
I do want to move to New York City, or at least like to Jersey City or something, Hoboken, like something near the city. Because I've been doing a lot more comedy and there really isn't much around here. They used to have open mics at Cheech's, actually. They used to have open mics there. But they stopped doing that for some reason. And they also had New Brunswick.
The Stress Factory.
Stress Factory, but they stopped doing open mics there during COVID. So
yeah,
they haven't opened it up yet. So I'm like, man, if I really want to do this, I need to be closer to the city because I have to drive like an hour and a half every time I do something like that.
Right. Yeah. And it's just always been a dream of mine since I was a little kid because my parents, I was born actually near the city. I'm adopted, but my parents lived.
Oh wow, I didn't know you were adopted.
Yeah. I was like 3 days old in the womb when, I was like in the womb when the papers were signed, and I was 3 days old when they picked me up. But my parents were living in Manhattan when they when I came home, and then we moved out when I was like 2 or like 1.5, and ever since I've been trying to get back. So I love the city so much. We always just would just go up constantly. So
are your parents, your adopted parents, are they still married or are they divorced?
No, they're not. Yeah, they got divorced when I was around like 18. So yeah.
Oh wow. So they were together for a while.
Yeah, they were together for a while, and but I'm still really close with my mom. So
I'm kind of curious, like my parents divorced when I was like 9, 10. I'm kind of curious, like, is it still emotionally traumatizing at age 18 for your parents' divorce, or is it at that point like you're an adult, so it's not as traumatizing?
I'm not traumatized. No, no, I don't think so. No, I think it is what it is, and it's I think that my relationship with my mom at the end of the day is really what matters, and it's strong, and that's we call ourselves the Pioneer Girls because we've done so many things with business ventures and things like that together. Yeah. So she's been so supportive so many times and has helped me with the camera and always been supportive of my dreams. So
yeah, I think we mentioned this earlier on the podcast. I'm not sure, but her mom's actually like a jazz singer.
Yeah, well, my mom did jazz singing since she was like 18, toured around the world with the Glenn Miller Orchestra, and then did jazz after that, and then did Broadway, and so she's a very musical person. She's an incredible singer, and then she wound up being an interior designer when I was a kid because she didn't want to do show business anymore, so she could.
What got her out of show business?
Just me. Yeah, like she just she wanted to be a lot of actresses, especially at that time, like give up their careers or they just give up the fact of having kids. So it's like one or the other, and she was like, no, this is more important. So yeah.
And you guys should know she has a lovely singing voice as well. I was trying to get her to sing something on here, but she was shy, but she's got a really great singing voice. So you inherited some of your mom's genetics there.
Yeah, and I'm adopted, so it's like,
oh wait. Duh, I'm an idiot.
But when you grow up with that, I think it's like...
You're right. It's not like a blood genetics thing, but it's like nature... What is it? Nature versus nurture?
Yeah, it totally... Yeah, and it's... And I found my biological dad about 5 years ago, and he actually got his master's in screenwriting and stuff, and that's also a whirlwind. So it is the nature versus nurture. It's like a little bit biologically, and then like, also the influences.
A little bit just like being around it.
Yeah.
So were you around music a lot as a kid? Like, you heard a lot of different music?
Yeah, because my adopted dad wrote music for TV and things like that.
Oh, wow.
And, he was an orchestrator, composer, and so I was like in music studios and stuff, and I was always bored because, when you say, here's a snack while you're, but...
That's crazy. So you were exposed to the arts like at a very young age. So it kind of makes sense that naturally you ended up in that direction.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite like music artists today? Like are you into jazz today, or what's your thing?
I love jazz so much. I know you do too. Mm-hmm. So that's great because I feel like our generation, it's not that it's rare, because I do find like a lot of millennials I think have been getting really into jazz, which is awesome because it should not die. It's thriving. And I know it sounds really stupid, but things like La La Land or Whiplash, like that, like films I think are really influencing keeping jazz alive and having younger generations become exposed to it more.
I feel like right now there's a lot of jazz fusion out there. Like there's a lot of like contemporary beats like fused with jazz chords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of that stuff. So it's definitely like being used in a different way now, and people are getting more like I even in YouTubers videos I hear like little jazzy things going on in there as well.
I love it. Yeah. So jazz I love, indie rock I love. Just because of my age, I'm nostalgic for, the
90s?
90s for sure, and then like the mid 2000s, pop punk era. I was very into that. So
what I actually really liked punk as well. What kind of punk bands were you into?
In high school, so I was very into 80s punk, and then I also liked the pop punk, which was more of like why am I blanking out on everything right now?
It's okay.
But Blink-182, Green Day, Sum 41, and then oh my God, I'm blanking out on everything.
Were you like an emo kid? Was that your thing?
No, I always like wore a hat every day, but that's like
you still wear the hat.
Yeah.
Was it that same type of hat?
Yes. Yeah. I've always wore like berets and black hats.
Do you ever not wear a hat, or is at this point it's like you feel naked without it? I don't think I've ever seen you without it.
Sometimes I don't wear a hat, but I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I've always seen you with your hat on. I knew you were gonna wear it today. I was like, she's gonna have her hat today.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I like it.
We were talking like when she came here before, like her boyfriend's here as well. We're like all wearing black, and we're like, it's just the artist type. We always end up in black clothes.
We're just like, yeah, man.
Well, he's got an X-Men shirt on, so I guess I shouldn't say he's in all black, but it does have a black background.
Yeah.
Do you want to come in and show us, or are you too shy? Come in and show us your t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a little belly action in the shot too.
Perfect.
So I noticed on Instagram you do like an Oscars party every year.
Yes.
So how are you feeling? When is the next? This is how stupid I am with movies. I don't even know when it is. When's the next Oscars? Did it already happen?
Yes. So the Oscars are usually February, March. It was postponed to April this year, and it was the weirdest show I've ever seen in my life this year. The set was awesome. Like Regina King opened it up, and she looked phenomenal. Great. Everything she had to say was fantastic. The weirdest part was how they handled the ending. And so the end, it's always best picture, blah, blah, blah. We all leave. The fact though, the matter was they designed the entire show, the producers did, banking on the fact that Chadwick Boseman, may he rest in peace, was going to win Best Actor, and he did not. And they switched the Best Picture from the end to before Best Actor and Best Actress. So Nomadland won Best Picture, and then all of a sudden we're like, did we miss Best Actor and Best Actress? Like, what's going on? And then they brought on, I forget who presented Best Actress, but it's the person that won last year. And then Joaquin Phoenix comes on to present Best Actor. And
this year?
Yeah. And it wound up being, because he won last year. So, and normally he would have presented Best Actress, but they switched.
Is that how it works?
Up.
The person who wins last year presents the next person.
Yes.
Interesting.
But it's usually opposite gender though. So like, if I won Best Actor last year and you won Best Actress, like I'd be giving you the Oscar. But anyway, they changed it up. But he didn't win. And Joaquin Phoenix is the most mellow person in the world. So he was also kind of awkward to begin with up there. And it just ended on this, like, everyone was banking on it. I mean, they had his family there. They put this photo in everyone's gift bags of Chadwick. And it was very strange. It was a strange night. There were also there was like no visual or like montages or anything. Like it was a very bland show. The in memoriam was sped up to 1,000%. Like it was so fast and so disrespectful. It was. Do
you think maybe they just weren't prepared because it was like the pandemic? Shit was just out of control. Like, what do you think happened?
I don't know what they were thinking, and no one knows. And I honestly, like next year, I'm hoping is gonna be better, but. It was the weirdest.
You were probably really disappointed because you do your whole party thing. Yeah. Next year, I want to come to the party. Yes. I'm inviting myself to the party.
Yes.
Do you guys invite people over, or is it just you two guys?
No. Normally, I always have a party. And this year, it was just the two of us.
Do you guys get dressed up and everything?
Oh, yes. 100%. Yes.
Like red carpet?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And I usually have ballots out and people guess. And it's usually a fun time. But yeah, it was just the two of us and we had a great time, which was,
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I want to talk about? You guys were telling me in the kitchen. Tell us about like the Bo Burnham special and why we should see it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm a big fan of Bo Burnham. He blends in my two worlds. He's a comedian he's like a musical comedian. Like he writes comedy songs basically and performs them. You said it was really good. Without giving away too much information, what's your take on his special?
Yeah, I think it actually goes perfectly with what you asked about how did you do during COVID? Like, how did you handle that? Because you see how he handled it in so many ways. And it's like he took the time he had one room that he had all of his gear in, camera, piano, all of his stuff, lighting gear, and created one of the most unique pieces of art I've ever seen. It's hilarious. He has so much to say in it, and you see him like go through a struggle of being isolated for so long, and we were all feeling it. But I mean, it's a masterpiece, and I highly recommend it.
I was just telling them, like, the last time I heard about him, he said he was never going to do stand up or whatever musical stand up ever again because he had a panic attack on stage during his last performance, which was his best performance. That's the ironic thing about it. Like, people went crazy over it. Like even stand-up comedians that aren't musical at all, like they were like, that was amazing. I'm pretty sure he ended up producing Chris Rock's show after that because it was so well produced that Chris Rock was like, can you produce my show as well? I think he produced 2 comedians like specials. It was so good. I actually got goosebumps. I cried during it, and he ended up quitting because he was like, I didn't even like, everyone's like, it's genius. It was amazing. And he was like, I think it's so funny that you guys think it's genius because I don't even remember doing it. Like, so I guess like his muscle memory kicked in, but it was probably so raw because he was having the panic attack or whatever. Oh God, what is the name of that one? I just sent it to you guys on Instagram. It's called it's like a Kanye West, he's doing like a spoof off of a Kanye West thing. Don't stop, or I don't remember what it's called. I'm fucking it up. But if you guys Google Bo Burnham, it's got like a bunch of like blue lights in it and like blue and black like background. It's so good. So I think it's so amazing that he actually came back because he said he never would come back. You know? Yeah,
I it's so good. And actually, we were watching some old Dana Carvey stuff about a couple weeks ago, and Dana Carvey used to do piano as well, which I had never seen except for like a few skits on SNL that he did. Yeah. And Dana Carvey was doing something on stage, and he looked exactly like Bo Burnham. I was like, really? Bo Burnham was so influenced by Dana Carvey. It was so
he's older. He's done it before.
Yeah.
I don't even know who he is. I got to check this out.
You know, like Wayne's World. Okay, so it's the other guy, not Mike Myers. Okay. So he was a big SNL guy for years, and we were watching it, and I was like, it was so spot on. As you could see that Bo Burnham was highly influenced by him, and by so many others too. You know,
it's funny. Like I play piano and do comedy, so I feel like I should do something like Bo Burnham, but I just don't know if I have that. I never tried to write. I mean, I guess I actually have tried to write comedy songs, but I feel like that's such a different skill. It's like, you have to like do the punchlines in the music. It seems so intense. Yeah. I might try it one day, but it's like, I feel like you have to be really good at that. Like to find the creativity. Like I can write songs and I can do stand up, but I don't know if I could do them at the same time. Like that's like a totally different thing. You know?
It's its own thing. Yeah. And I remember in high school, because I would see like early YouTube, Bo Burnham, he did one song that was called like the Rehab for Holiday Characters or something. And so you had like the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and the Leprechaun for, you know, St. Patrick's Day. And they were all at rehab in like a group therapy session. And he had his like guitar, and he must have been like 17, and it was so good. And he's doing all the voices of everyone there, and even like the counselor of like, welcome to the, you know, therapy session, and it's so funny. And like that kid is just on another level.
Yeah, Bo Burnham has to be a genius, like, because the way his like he's like a one-man show. He just does everything. He does like in that special I was talking about, that song, he does his own lighting, his own mixing, his own, like he produced the whole thing, and on top of that, like wrote everything. Like he's like everything. He's like the producer, the actor, the musician, the comedian. Like he's just like everything in one package. And not only that, he makes films, like produces, like I said, other stand-ups. So it's like he's got to be like, his brain has to be, he's got to be a genius. Like there's no way he's not, you know?
Yeah. And the most recent special too, you could see it was like, okay, I have all this time to just be by myself and just create. Like we had time to be by ourselves during COVID, but I still had like a lot of other stuff I had to do. And I wish I could just take like a month and not do anything except just create. Do you ever feel like that?
I agree. It's weird. I feel bad complaining, and I feel like, knock on wood, it's going to bite my ass someday that I'm complaining about this. But I'm pissed that I worked during the entire pandemic. Like I shouldn't be pissed. I should be happy and like thankful. And I am, because I paid my rent and I had a place to stay. But like, I kind of wish I was on unemployment, like, because I teach piano lessons, and the first like couple weeks I lost some people because they were like, they weren't really sure about it. But then once they realized that like they had to go to school online, they all came back, which I'm very grateful for. I'm very happy about that. Like, I didn't lose work. But like everybody that was like, I have all this free time, I'm like, I feel like I'm busier now.
Yeah.
Like I never got like free time.
Yeah.
And I would, like you said, I would feel so happy if for like 1 month I just got an employment and could just like write a bunch of stuff and not have to do anything. That would be like a dream come true. So kind of going back to what we were saying before, it is a shame the people that like didn't do anything during the time, because it's like you just wasted a huge opportunity.
I know.
Like, you know?
I know. And I don't ever want to be that person, but I kind of secretly feel that. Like, it's like, what are you doing?
I feel like we all feel like we're not doing enough, though.
I know.
It's just like a feeling. Yeah. Even the people that are like, Burnham probably doesn't feel like he's doing enough.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he does everything. So.
And it's constant for me. So
this is an interesting thing. We were talking about this with my last guest too. As an artist, do you feel like constantly self-critical of your work?
Oh my God, yes. I'm so self-critical on myself to begin with, that I'm very critical of my work. Yes. But I try to, I don't know, so a great example is like, sometimes I'll watch things that I did like a year ago with fresh eyes, and I'll be like, wow, that was like really good. And like, it's not tooting my own horn. It's just like, when you take a step back, it's kind of like reassuring, like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Like, I do know what I'm doing. Cause like at the moment you're like, oh God,
I know what you mean.
Fraud.
Sometimes I'll look at something and in that moment I'll be like, this is a piece of shit. What the fuck was I doing? Yeah. But then like you said, like a year later, I'll go back and be like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought.
No.
I think it's because like when you're in the moment of making that thing, you know every flaw. So like if I do like, for example, a singing recording, I know every flaw that I had in that moment. And then like a year later, I'll go back and I won't really hear the flaws anymore. Yeah. So, but it's weird. Like I feel like you need that like magnifying glass in order to do this type of thing. Because you can't just be like, oh, that was great. Like you need to kind of like really look at it with like a lens, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's see. I think we touched on everything, all my questions for her. Normally I write my questions down, but today was like an impromptu session because I've had such a busy week. But I think I got all the questions. I was like writing your questions in my head throughout the day, and I'm like trying to make sure in my head I remembered it. But I think I got them all. Yeah. So anyways, we're going to end the podcast for today. If you want to stalk Tracy, you can stalk her on Instagram and different things. Let them know one more time where they could find you.
Nerdy Film Girl on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Yes. Yeah. And I want to leave with one recommendation for everyone out there. Cruella just premiered on Disney Plus, and it's not a perfect film, but if you are into Disney villains and you like Emma Stone, both Emma Stone and Emma Thompson were fantastic, and they did a really great job with the aesthetics and the power plays between the two characters, and you see, you know, a little bit why Cruella is the way she is, and a little backstory on the 101 Dalmatians, and it's awesome and fun.
It's funny, that almost even reminds me of like the Joker thing. Like it's like when you see the background of that. Okay, now we're chatting a little more. I have a question for you. Whatever happened to the Little Mermaid thing? Remember there was like this whole dramatic thing with the Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Like they were gonna have a black Little Mermaid, and everyone went crazy. Is there gonna be a Little Mermaid?
Yeah, it's still happening. Yep.
Maybe COVID stopped things, like slowed things down a little bit.
That's on pause. That was on pause. They're doing Hercules. They're doing a bunch of them. But yeah, that's still in production for sure.
I was wondering about that because I thought about that the other day. I was like, wait, there was this whole drama about it, and then I never heard about it ever again. It just like disappeared. But
people that are upset about that, like, give me a break. Like, I think it's fantastic, and it's like it's a fictitious character that is actually from the Caribbean. So
yeah,
come on, like let's be real here.
Yeah, it's
wonderful casting.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so I had so much fun with Tracy today. I'll put her information down below so you can find her. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you enjoyed this podcast and you want to stick around for next Thursday for another podcast episode. And don't forget to comment on anything, add to the conversation if you agreed or disagreed with anything. I love reading your guys' comments below and getting into whatever friendly debate or whatever, compliments, insults, I don't care, whatever you guys think. And that was it for today. This is the Pranzata podcast. I will see you guys again. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me.